Evening and welcome to the Select Board meeting of the Town of Essex on August 3rd, 2026. For those of you here in the room, please silence your cell phones and we will call this meeting to order. As a reminder for those online, your microphones will be muted as we've had issues in the past. We want to make sure those don't continue. The chat feature has been disabled. Please raise your hand and we will have our staff unmute you when you are called upon. But let's jump right in. Staff, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Recording in progress.
No. Great. Over to the board. Any additions or changes to the agenda board? Hearing none, we don't need to approve the agenda as it is not changed. We'll move right into public to be heard. This is an opportunity for members of the public to raise comments about items on the consent agenda or issues that are not on today's business items. As a few ground rules, please note we expect you to be civil. Please be brief. As a general rule, any comments longer than a few minutes indicate a need for a longer conversation, either by email or by phone or setting up a meeting or to be put on a future agenda. Please refrain from side conversations. Please be respectful to staff and everyone here in the room as well as those on the board. Please direct your comments to the chair. When called upon by the chair, please state your name and where you reside. And with that, we'll start with anyone in the room. Public comments in the room. Not seeing any hands, we will jump online. I have a message over mine. Lorraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. 74 Center Road. Just a quick question. We're having our first Housing Commission meeting. Thank you for the appointment. Much appreciated. But I'm really concerned that we are to use our private emails. I'm not okay with that. That is a line for me, as it is town business, and there are liabilities with that, as well as security issues, and if there's a FOIA request. I was kind of surprised that I was told that it's for security reasons that we won't have an email. And also I noticed that PCAB each has an email address. And I thought I recalled that the chair of the Energy Committee is the way I used to write to the chair. So I have a number of concerns about not being assigned email addresses as a commission member. And I would like to know if that could be addressed. Thanks.
I appreciate that. Greg, do you have any quick comments on that, or should we follow up afterwards?
Happy to follow up more. We have considered it in the past as staff. We've steered away from it. I believe we've made some exceptions for the chair of certain committees, but we've not given it to every single member. Partially, it's one more thing to manage. It's cost. We have to pay a monthly fee for each one of our members. I think we have probably 40 plus volunteers in our boards and committees, so that is a cost that would add up. It's something that the board could consider. We can try to get some more information from our IT department, see if anything has changed on their end, and bring it back to the board. But those are the reasons in the past.
Thank you. Lorraine, we'll follow up with you, but I appreciate raising that. I see Mrs. Margaret Smith.
Okay, I think I unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I just want to express, did I go away? Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, my screen just did funny things. I just wanted to express my disappointment that you added the local option tax, at least I believe you added it, without making an effort to resolve the zip code issue. I really resent sending money to Essex Junction, so I just wanted to put in my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. I'm not going to trust my computer. Greg, are there any other hands online?
No.
Okay. Then we will close public comment and move on to the next matter of business. Ethan.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Ethan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Business item 6A, interview and possible appointment of an alternate representative to the Chittenden Solid Waste District Board of Commissions with Edith Klimowski come forward and join us at the front table?
Right here?
Yes, please. And if you could just, they're big chairs.
There's a show back on PBS, and there was an Edith, and she sat in this big rocking chair. So I feel like right now. Okay, hi.
Please introduce yourself. Tell us your name, where you live, and why you would like to be a part of this board.
Okay. My name is Edith Klimowski. I live at 157 Browns River Road, right up 2 driveways up from the Weed Road corner. And why I want to join the solid district? Well, I've been interested in trash and recycling for a very long time. I actually have my master's degree in trash and recycling. And specifically, if you want to go formal, it's an environmental science degree with a concentration, and my thesis was on waste reduction and resource management. So I just was on the zoning board years ago, and I'm feeling that it's time for me to get back engaged in the community, specifically Essex, and that's why I thought I would sign up for the alternative position.
Thank you. We really
welcome any
appreciate you
questions.
stepping forward.
Yeah.
Board members, what questions do you have for our applicant? Meg?
Yeah. So thank you for your interest in the position. You noted in your application that you have like a background in the waste industry, so I wanted to just know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I finished my degree way back. I went right to grad school, so I was like done in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit the ground running right into the trash and recycling field. And I managed a recycling center, and then I worked for private companies for a number of years. That was my first career, as they call it. And then moved here and was married to someone in the waste industry and also helped with that business. And also just have been paying attention to the issue, my whole life, just because it's of interest to me. My second career is with a nonprofit for anti-human trafficking. And ironically, the two worlds merged because of climate change and other factors around the globe. There are environmental factors that perpetuate human trafficking. And so I've done a lot of research with that. Not specifically with waste management, but it's, it all kind of ties together. So, yeah. I think, does that answer your question enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions? Kendall?
Are you familiar with the issues that the Chittenden Solid Waste District is dealing with currently?
I mean, I read the news and follow it, but I haven't honestly taken a deep dive into the specific, like, which one are you talking about?
Well, they've got a lot of things going on with the landfill and
Oh, the landfill. Oh, yeah, of course.
you know,
Yes.
things like
I'm familiar
that.
with
So I
yeah,
just wondered if you had reviewed.
the lack of landfill space and the monopoly and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wondered if you had reviewed some of the current issues and were.
oh,
getting
for
up to
sure.
speed on
Yes.
that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall. Ethan?
I was gonna ask if you ever served on any other boards or committees, but you answered that question. And then I was gonna ask about some of the issues in the state. But Kendall covered that for me. So I'm gonna go a little bit different. That's why I kind of waited for a minute, because I was like, oh, I lost one, I lost two. Okay, I'm trying to swerve this around. So my question for you is gonna be more about some of the things that they've done in my tenure on the select board, which is going on 4.5 years. So one of the things that's always fascinated me was the amount of tons that they could remove from the landfill from prevention, from interception. So I'm sure that you're driven in that from studying. So my question is going to be, have you been able to follow along with CWSD over the last 4 years and kind of see how much they've actually diverted with some of the composting laws and things like that have gone in effect in, I think, 2 years now, for 3 years maybe for composting? It's been a while. COVID maybe?
Yeah, I
even?
think so.
Maybe
Yeah.
4 or 5 years at
Yeah,
this
I think
point.
a little more, but
Yeah.
yeah. You're right. It is fascinating. It's so fascinating to me. So I followed it, I guess, enough, but I know that I'll take a deeper dive in if I get the appointment, and that's what I welcome, like things getting put at me, and then I'll read them. I'm not on social media at all or any of those things. I don't comment anywhere and like do any of that kind of stuff. But yes, it is fascinating, and my thesis all these years ago was about diversion and how to best implement diversion policies, given what all the other states are doing around the country, and keeping abreast of that. It's interesting what Vermont has in front of us, and basically the whole Northeast, right? And where things are going to go and how we're going to do it. I will say I'm fiscally conservative and definitely like to follow the money trail. It's, I feel like, important, right? And so that will float to the top for me, and watching what decisions get made and maybe hoping to, have some voice in that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Andy?
Edith, thanks for stepping forward. What does the word community mean to you?
Oh, gosh. Well, just being involved, saying hi in the grocery store. I guess my nonprofit job with the trafficking sort of checks a box for me in that too, because it's putting a bunch of people together. That's what I do, is facilitate conversation, make sure there's a multidisciplinary teams in place, that people are coming from all walks of life. And so community means everybody. And hearing what folks have to say, getting their perspective, and then just engaging. I help out with my elderly neighbor. I have served teenagers well, I feel, even though it got messy sometimes. Paying attention to them, and not being on the school board or anything big like that, just being present and paying attention, and I love it here. I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for the board?
No,
the
I was on the
position?
zoning board, and I kind of just think that is, I guess that my one I take that back. The one question is for alternate. I know it's like a very small role that I would play, but I'm hoping that I would still get all the information and be able to comment or work with Al or whatever, and have it be something more than just this gratuitous little thing on the side.
The way I understand it, and Greg and Karen, please correct me if I'm incorrect, but you're basically treated as a full member, but for voting matters, it's that you don't have
Great.
a voice, and it's you're welcome to go to all the meetings or only the meetings that the person who's filling the seat cannot make. But I recommend, staff, do you have anything else to add on that?
No, that sounds about right. I believe there's a little bit of an orientation process with the board if you're appointed. Alan Nye is our current representative, so I'm sure he can be in touch with you and vice versa, and help guide you in if you get the appointment.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great.
I'll turn it back to the board. This is a vacant spot right
Yeah.
now. It has been for a while. Andy?
I make the motion that the Select Board appoint Edith Klamoski as the alternate Town of Essex representative for the Chittenden Solid Waste District Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor, please
Aye.
say aye.
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 Any opposed? Congratulations, you
All
are,
right,
are
thank
the
you.
alternate.
All right. Do I get an email?
We will, staff will be in touch with you, and we'll go. Thanks for that.
Sorry.
That will bring us to item 6B, interview with Don Hill-Fleury for the vacant position of the Police Community Advisory Board.
You just want to dump me out of this chair. Thank you. Hello.
Hey, Don, the floor is yours. You're familiar with this process.
The floor is mine. That's a hoop. I was waiting to hear what you wanted to ask me. So I left the board a year and a half ago, whatever. I'm bored. I need something else to do. CCTV only meets every other month now, so I only have one meeting every other month, so I wanted something else to do. I have watched various board meetings, and I think that my ability to help people would be best used on the CAB group. They they seem kind of at loose ends. They're not following what Essex Best, sort of gave them a guideline. It's like, wait a minute, we've strayed away, and I'd like to see them come back to the plan that Essex Best had for the PCAB. And I think that I have the skills to do that. So I think it will be a challenge, but I believe I can do that. And that's why I want to help.
Well, I really appreciate you stepping up, as you always have in the past. I'll turn to the board for questions for our friend Don. Ethan.
I got a question.
Oh, I knew there was.
Watch out.
So, remind my memory, because it's been a long time, but didn't when we created the PCAB, weren't you the first person to...
I represented the board for Essex Best.
Okay.
And then Essex Best.
But I remembered you
Yep.
leading the charge right from the beginning.
Yep.
So, when I saw this and I read it, that was...
It's sort of like
It all
finishing the
flashed
work I
back to me.
started, I
said-
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's amazing. So,
Yeah.
I just wanted to grab the floor so I could thank you for your many years of public service
Thanks.
and the tremendous job that you've done
Thank
for
you,
our
Ethan.
town. So we're grateful to have you
Hopefully I'm
here
not done
tonight.
yet. I've got a
That's
few more
that's
years, I
it. Hey.
think. I hope. Yeah.
Thank you, Ethan.
Oh, come on, Andy. You gonna ask me about community service? Come on.
I saw Meg's hand go up.
Meg.
So I'm curious, you mentioned in your note, you mentioned it just now, about the vision of the PCAB and Essex Best. I'm just curious to hear a little bit kind of more
So,
about that and your perspective.
How many of you have heard what the PCAB's been doing? Have they reported to you or told you what's happening?
I haven't.
They seem to change leadership quite often, and they seem to flounder each time they don't have a direction to head in. Originally, it was set up to improve the communication between the police department and the community.
Yep.
Between the homeless people that are afraid to talk to the police, for the immigrants that are afraid to talk to the police, for the low-income people that don't want to be involved. And it was supposed to be a communication bridge to those groups. And none of that seems to be happening that I've seen. And I'd really like to get back to the original purpose. And I think that PCAB could do some more outreach too. I mean, but I think they need to have a direction to go in before they can start that outreach.
Okay, great, thank you.
Andy.
Since you asked, so I've seen you live what community means to you.
I do.
Offer you this opportunity to put it into words. What does community mean to you?
Growing up, I had, you may have heard of him, Lewis Hill. He's from Greensboro. He always said, give back to the community more than you get out of it. He said, that is the best thing you can do in your life. And I at the time, I didn't really understand it. But then, well, there was an opening on the school board. Actually, I think it started with Boy Scouts, to tell you the truth. There was somebody needed a treasurer for scouting, and I guess I could do that. Anyway, and it continued on, but it was like, yes, I was involved, but I also felt I was giving back to the community that I grew up in. I mean, I've spent, 67 years in Essex now. Not all of my life, but I'm still here. No, but the more I can do to help people and appreciate where they live, and I can give back to the community that's done a lot for me. That's what the community is to me. It's family.
Yeah.
It's helping.
Family. That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm going to cry.
Sorry. It's going to watch Easton's son play baseball out in the boonies.
Kendall?
If you had to pick a perfect person to revitalize this, I think we have the perfect applicant.
Thank you, Kendall.
Well said. I'm going to turn it over to you if you have questions to grill us now.
I don't really have any.
You're welcome to.
My plan, I hope, if I get appointed, is to be able to bring back to you what Essex Best is, or what the PCAB is accomplishing, because I really think they need to get out there. I mean, I think they could do great things, and I look forward to being able to provide you with what they're doing, the information. So,
Well, I know when you set your mind to something, it happens.
well,
So I appreciate that.
hopefully, I'm hoping. So,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
I'll bring it back to the board. Ethan.
I move that the select board appoint Don Hale Fleury for the Police Community Advisory Board.
Thank you, Ethan. Is there a second?
Second.
I saw Kendall's hand, but I heard your voice, so I'm going to give it to Kendall. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Keep up the good work.
Is Ken online? Our next interview?
No.
Okay. If you could just let me know if someone pops in. We'll jump, instead of going to C for an interview for the Energy Committee with Ken Goodnow, we'll jump to,
You have someone coming in right now.
right this second.
okay.
Mr. Goodnow?
Ken, great timing. Please, grab a seat, introduce yourself, and let us know why you're volunteering for this, or applying for this application.
Hi, my name's Ken Goodnow. I'm retired. I have a PhD in electrical engineering. I've been interested in solar power most of my life. My senior project in college was for solar improvements in solar panels. I'm very interested in the S202 bill that was just passed that enables the plug and play for solar units for homes, and I'm kind of interested in seeing what Essex would like to do about that, because I think there's a lot of questions need to be answered. I saw that South Burlington already has some kind of document that talks about how to do it and stuff like that. So I think we probably would need something like that. I've read the plan for energy for Vermont, and the Essex plan to get to that, and I think it's 2030. I think it's really ambitious, but I'm interested in seeing if I can help. That's about it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you applying. The Energy Committee's long had a vacancy, so I'm glad to see you have an applicant. I'll turn to the board for any questions for Mr. Goodnow. Ethan.
Hi, Ken. Thanks for being here. I was going to ask a little bit, sounds like you're familiar with a couple things, but have you attended any of the Energy Committee meetings, or just
I read through the
online?
notes,
Yep.
but I haven't been to a meeting, no.
Yep. So you read the plan, the energy plan. Did you happen to see the mission statement in there?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
So
Can you share with me anything that you found in there that gave you your spark? Sorry, I had to throw a pun in there.
actually, what gave me the spark to come over here and volunteer was the S202.
The state bill, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
My son is actually in the rep. He's a rep from Brattleboro.
Awesome.
And we were talking about that one day, and I thought it was really interesting, and I'm kind of. I was just in Germany on a Viking cruise tour, and I was impressed to see the number of solar panels up. So, I think that's someplace that Vermont should be going to. So,
Awesome. Thanks for your time.
Andy.
Ken, good to see you again. It was fun to run into Ian at the Vermont League of Cities and Towns events, and, and then learn that he's now in the legislature. That's great. So my question is about community. I guess in your own words, what does community mean to you?
well, I guess just generic. We're all neighbors, and we should be helping each other. And I see. I like Essex. We've lived here for about 30 years, and I like being in Vermont, and I think trying to improve things all the time is like the right way to go. So I guess that would be my best answer.
All right, great, thank you.
Kendall?
Do you see any opportunities right off for the plug and play?
My side yard. I think the question about the S202 I have, so I think it's a great idea. It's an easy way for, there's a fairly ambitious, passive energy plan or target for Essex. I think this would be, I think one of the things that'd be interesting to see is, how much of, plug and play could contribute to that. But I also think, you could also end up with a lot of eyesore with, things just being haphazardly. So I think some of it has to be managed a little bit. I know the S202 said that you can't crank down on it too much, but I think there are suggestions and opportunity to direct people on the right way to do things. I think I lost the question I had.
The other question I had was, you have experience serving on various boards in the past?
Not really, but I was a lead at my companies. My last company, I worked and retired from IBM, and I was a senior engineer there, and I was a lead at. I went down to Baltimore and was working for Northrop Grumman there. So I know how to run meetings. I know how to be in meetings. I know how to help push agendas along and things like that. So I think I have the skill set that would help that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'll jump in. It's good to see you again. I grew up in Pinewood with your family, and I think it's great. The Energy Committee does an excellent job of talking about a whole variety of issues, from Brent coming up with new ideas about how to retrofit our buildings and things like that and use energy better to getting that energy better. I know you're excited about solar and different things, but have you thought about the other areas of energy or areas that we could improve in a town?
Improving, like one of the things in the plan is the I think this is the Vermont target for having all of the heating being done by heat pumps and everything like that. I think that's a really good
geothermal
idea.
or things like that.
Yeah. Geothermal would be very interesting. I was kind of curious about, because I haven't read anything about the new Essex town offices, how they're going to power that, because there's a lot of opportunities since you're just building it right now. But yeah, I'm interested in a lot of those other things also.
I too went to school for environmental science and policy, so this is a place I really love getting into the weeds. So anytime we have an energy committee chair or volunteer come in, it's really exciting to hear their ideas. So thank you for possibly joining that club. You sound very passionate about it.
I'm interested. I have the time. So to answer one of the other questions about being in, I've never really had the time up until now to be able to participate. I also coach a lot of things, so that usually takes up a lot of my time. So,
well, thank you for being involved in the community that way. Do you have any questions for the board?
Not really.
Okay, then I'll bring it back to the board. Meg.
I move we appoint Ken Goodnow to serve as a volunteer on the Energy Committee.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Andy. Final discussion? All those in favor of appointing Mr. Goodnow to the Energy Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Now you've selected me.
You're locked in. I'm sorry.
Is it a term or just forever, or until I don't want to do it anymore?
3-year term is the vacancy, correct?
I believe so. It is a term. I'm going to double check it, that it's 3 years.
June 31st, 29 will be your expiration.
Yeah. So it's a 3-year seat. Sometimes people leave early or something. There's a random, but this one is for 3 years, as Ethan just said.
And we do it, it's July 1st, June 30th to July 1st. Sorry, July 1st to June 30th cycle, so your term will have started on July 1st.
Okay. So the other question I had, so I would just go to the next committee meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
You're now a full-fledged member.
Yeah,
And there will
thank
be
you.
an orientation from the staff and different things like that.
Can I go home to dinner now?
You are excused.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. That will bring us to business item 6D, consider approval of town manager's appointment of zoning administrator and health officer. Greg.
So Brittany McGregor is here. In your packet, I noted that there might be an applicant who I'd be ready to appoint. I did not have that ready when the packet went out. I'll first start by saying this is kind of a bittersweet moment because Sharon Kelley is retiring after nearly 32 years. She's been an institution with the town and has done tremendous work. She really just embodied the zoning administrator role and has helped countless people navigate the planning process, the permitting process, and everything around related to that. You'll see later on in your meeting tonight, there's a resolution of appreciation to consider for Sharon. So I'm sad to see her go, but I'm thrilled that she's moving on to retirement and after a long dedicated time here in Essex. So that's the bitter part. The sweet part is that Brittany is here to take over for Sharon. Brittany's been our planning technician for the past year and was the admin assistant in ComDev for about a year before that.
Yeah, about a year.
And has been absolutely tremendous in both roles. Once we were able to make it a full-time position, Brittany was the obvious choice to promote upwards to become the planning technician. In the past year, she's gotten more involved with the permitting process, doing some light development review, supporting the DRB in a number of ways. So I have full confidence in recommending, well, I've already appointed Brittany, but it's pending your approval tonight in accordance with the charter. But no qualms whatsoever. Excited to have Brittany become the next zoning administrator and health officer. Again, once again, pending your approval tonight.
Thank you, Greg. Board members, question for Greg or Brittany? Meg.
So thank you, Brittany, for serving as the planning technician. I'm curious, what are you kind of most looking forward to contributing in kind of this next step to the planning administrator?
I think I'm interested in just kind of expanding my role in the town. I am a town resident, so it's certainly something that I'm serving my fellow residents. It's a sense of community that I get to work with them. I think there's a lot of opportunity and people maybe don't know what they can do. So being there and helping them understand if they have zoning questions, if they want to see how they could develop their property or something like that, just being a resource to people in the community in that sense, and just expanding my role.
Okay, thanks.
Kendall?
I'm just curious how much public-facing experience you have in the current position. You must have a lot, right?
Quite a bit. She's kind of
Yeah.
the front face of that office.
Yeah,
Brittany,
so
feel free to
You get
elaborate.
regular customers coming in and seeing them all.
yeah, so anyone who comes into the office, I'm the first person that they see. So if they call, I answer the phone, and then it kind of starts to become asking questions. Where do you live? What do you want to do? Do you need a zoning permit? If so, I'll help them fill out the process. If it's something that's more of a development review, I'll go through that application with them. It's also working with engineers, having them come in, drop off applications. It's kind of anyone who walks through the door, I help them.
Okay, that was just for my own. I wasn't quite familiar with what the assistant zoning is, so that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Either.
I have a question for Greg, but my question is, with the swap happening and kind of being down a person in planning for now, do we have a plan for committee support? Because I don't think Brittany's gonna be able to do all three.
She's gonna step up and do a little bit of both until we get her position filled. We'll get the planning technician position posted tomorrow is the plan. Hopefully hire someone to fill that position as soon as possible. In the meantime, it's kind of all hands on deck, as we typically do when we have openings, and we'll make sure committees are staffed and supported in the meantime.
Okay. Yeah, might be a good opportunity for us to take somebody from somewhere in the manager's office and have them help with a couple of the meetings. I know that was one of the only concerns that I received was how are the committees going to be supported by one less person who has two more jobs. So, not a knock on you.
No,
just
I know. No, I know.
us to. So, thank you.
Yep, good question.
Greg, just for public record, this position was open for how many days and posted online?
Ooh, Sharon gave her notice last month. We had this position posted for a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Okay. And then the interviews were conducted, and we have Brittany.
Correct.
Thank you. Really appreciate all the work you do.
Of course, thank you.
As this is a business item, we'll open it for public comment. Any hands in the room? Yes, Chief Cole, please come forward.
Have a microphone.
Hi, Chief Charles Cole. I'm both a town resident and a department head. I did not know that Brittany was the applicant that was going to be appointed tonight or approved. I have had the occasion of working with her on the many plan reviews that have come through for the past year plus. And in the past year, she has really stepped up. She's very responsive. She's always professional. She's attended meetings that we've had when we've done pre-building meetings, when an applicant has questions about the comments that we've made back or changes that we've requested in plans, and she's organized those meetings. I think she would hit the ground running with the current projects that are in queue, as well as future projects that we know are coming down the pike. We've also got some big projects that are still in the court system, so somebody like Brittany that's familiar with all of those would be an asset to have. So I would recommend Brittany to be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I see one online. I just don't see the
Not seeing any in the room. I'll pop this up to see who's online. Lois.
Hi, I'm a little bit interested in the process. You said this was advertised for a week or 2 weeks. How many applications did you receive, and how many people did you interview?
Greg?
We received 9 applicants. Brittany was the only one that we interviewed. The selection committee didn't think that anyone else was nearly as qualified as Brittany.
Thank you, Greg. Lois, was there any follow-up, or is that it?
No, I was just, you had mentioned that there had been other people who had interviewed, and I wondered about that.
Thank you, Greg, for clarifying that. Seeing no other hands online, I'll bring it back to the board. Andy?
I make the motion that the Select Board approve the town manager's appointment of Brittany McGregor as zoning administrator and health officer.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kendall. Final discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations. Motion passes 5-0. That'll bring us to business item 6E. Consider approval of capital vehicle purchase of car 10 for Essex Fire Department. Greg, do you want to intro this, or do you want me to turn to the chief?
Chief can handle this.
Chief, please.
Good evening. I believe you have a copy of the memorandum that I sent to the manager and Dan Roy that he has forwarded to you. We have as you know, we have a capital apparatus budget for the town, and it was approved for this fiscal year to add this vehicle to our fleet. And so we are attempting to fill that need that we have with the purchase of a Ford F-150 police package pickup truck. I understand that there are some questions regarding the upfit equipment and how that might integrate with the vehicle. So much like if you've seen the Ford F-150 that Essex Junction Fire Department currently operates, it's the almost identical situation where it's a pickup truck with a cap on the back. It would have a bed slide with some compartments that are built and outfitted so that we can fit our equipment in there and it doesn't roll around loose while we are going to a call. The weight of that, I don't have the exact weight of what each piece weighs, but I do know that they are designed and built to fit in these vehicles, and they are made to do that, and there are many, many, many of these vehicles in service throughout the country.
Thank you, Chief. Questions from the board? Meg?
I appreciate the effort to find kind of a cost-effective solution and use local vendors. This replacement is this an addition or a replacement?
This one will be in addition. It will be an add to fleet.
Okay, and it's not time sensitive to have this vehicle. I'm assuming using local vendors to outfit it will take a little bit more time.
For the upfitting, it will actually take about the same amount of time because
Okay.
once we get approval to actually claim the vehicle that's coming in, that's arrived in Massachusetts, the same process would involve. So ordering like the red lights and the radios and these compartments will still take the same lead time, whether it's done at that dealership in Massachusetts or whether they're done with the local dealerships here.
Great.
We just need the confirmation first that the vehicle is obtainable, and then we'll go ahead and place those orders.
Okay.
Thank you, Meg.
Yep.
Ethan.
Okay, so my question is more so, I read back to the capital approvals and in the memo in the original vote for fiscal year 27, sorry, it takes me a minute to get those numbers sometimes. The writing in there said that was to be used for utility equipment, which this is a utility vehicle. But nowhere in there did it say that we would replace car 10 with squad 4 or vice versa. Maybe I'm mixing those two numbers up. And here's my concern with that, is that not only have we put way too many miles on, sorry if I'm saying the wrong numbers, 10 is the truck, right, that we have?
Will be 10 is the proposed new truck that we're going
But
to
it's
get.
currently the truck that we have now?
No.
4 is?
4 is. Squad
Okay.
4 is the 4500 chassis.
The Chevy?
Yes.
Okay. So my concern is there was talk about switching the numbers?
No, they'll still stay the same, but their mission will change.
Okay.
So currently, Squad 4 is our primary EMS response vehicle. That vehicle, because of some new members that we've had that are not as familiar with driving the larger chassis truck, it is easier to drive the smaller chassis, which the Ford F-150 would be.
Right.
So the Ford F-150 will become the primary EMS vehicle. Squad 4 will then become the utility vehicle as well as a backup EMS response vehicle. And we are seeing, like today, for instance, we had 5 rescue calls simultaneously within 15 minutes in Essex, and we were responding a lot throughout the town.
Right.
So we are finding that we are using engines more to go to an EMS call where it's not trauma related or some type of rescue that we would need the tools on the engine. It's only to carry personnel in the medical bag. So by having these 2 vehicles still equipped to respond, it will provide an additional resource and save the wear and tear on the large engines. The Squad, which is a heavier chassis truck, would be designed, it can, as you would know, tow much more
Brush
than
fires,
the
water,
F-150 would
yeah.
be, so it makes a better choice as a more fire utility type vehicle.
Okay. So I'm just
Yep.
trying to understand it all because it's, these are both new vehicles in the last
Couple
3 years.
The, the other one's a 24, right?
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So my concern is if we look at the amount of money that we just spent on these 2 vehicles. Okay, I think the other one was 130, if I'm remembering right. Pretty sure it was like 127, all fitted out. So we're like another 70. Let's just say 130. I could be wrong. I
Okay.
think it might have been more, but less. Let's say, regardless, we're almost $200,000. Okay. So I've been looking around, and you know how I am, and I'm looking at used ambulances, and I'm looking at new ambulances, and I'm like, how much money are we gonna spend for utility vehicles to fight brush fires? Which, valid, 100%. We have rough terrain. We have terrain that needs to be covered that our fire trucks simply cannot get to. Totally agree with that. Totally in agreement of upfitting that truck with some spray nozzles and some sort of, interchangeable tank that could go in the back for brush firefighting. I love watching the brush fire squad vehicles, but the concern that I have now, and I'm thankful for clearing that up, that we're not swapping numbers, because for one, I was thinking that we were going to put a new vehicle on an old number, and then we were going to kick Squad 4 over to be 10, and then now we would have a vehicle that's not going to get replaced for 7 years, that's 3 years old, so it's going to be 10 years old before it gets looked at for being replaced. And at that point, it would come back to us again and be told that it's not worth anything and we should keep it and add another vehicle. And it's like, how many vehicles are we going to own for the fire department when 2.5 vehicles ago, there was concerns about not being able to fit the vehicles into the fire station. So I'm just really concerned about where we're headed for
Well, currently with
equipment.
the Quad 4, the way that it's outfitted and the amount of EMS equipment we're carrying on that truck, we're not able to use it as a utility vehicle following a fire. That will change when we put some of that equipment over on the new Ford truck and keep it inside the cab.
Right.
As we know now from a lot of the talk about cancer-causing carcinogens and things, when we get to a fire, which we are still averaging about 45 of those a year, the current practice should be, which we don't always do because we can't, is to take your bunker gear off, bag it up, and bring it back to the station. Everybody washes it, cleans it. Fire hose, we can't just put it back on the truck. We have to wash it, dry it, then put it on the truck. So a lot of times the trucks are coming back less than fully in service. We have extra fire hose on the rack so we can get the engines back in service once we get to the station. But to get that equipment back, we need a utility vehicle to do that. We also, last year, had 2,100 emergency calls. 60+% of those are EMS. We're now finding multiple EMS calls happening at the same time. So we need more vehicles to answer those calls, plain, pure, and simple. We're putting a lot of unnecessary wear and tear on the large fire trucks that are also leaving with less than a full crew because it only takes 2 people to go to an EMS call. And so the available volunteers we now have a $1 million+ fire truck going to a medical call when this truck could easily do that and save the town money in the long run.
Yeah. And I'm not arguing any
No.
of that. What I'm arguing is that this money was put in this budget for utility vehicles to fight fires, and it was not put in here for EMS. And my argument is, and I'll stand strong on this, is that this is 2 times now that this money has been misused for EMS vehicle when it was specifically proposed to the board as a utility vehicle for rough terrain fire response.
Nowhere did it say rough terrain fire.
That was one of the, I pulled minutes. I was gonna print it all out and bring it tonight, and I'll happily bring it to the next meeting just for the record, but there was many minutes about the specifications on the first vehicle that was purchased, the Squad 4 vehicle. So I'm understanding, I'm not saying that the fire department doesn't need more vehicles. I'm just saying that if we're gonna be a rescue service and respond to almost 1,600 rescue calls a year, and less than 500 fire calls a year, I think that it's time that we shift our gears and look at what is the future of EMS and purchasing pickup trucks, one of them a heavy-duty pickup truck, one of them a very light-duty pickup truck that the DMV wears out regularly just carrying scales on the interstate, may not be the most long-term solution. So I just wanted to raise attention to it. I've got my feelings on the record, and I'll retreat.
No, I appreciate you raising those good questions, Ethan. Thank you. Further questions for the chief from the board? Kendall?
I would just add that from what I've heard, it seems to make more sense that we should have more EMS vehicles versus your utility brush fires, because we have a brush fire and stuff now and then, but we have 2,100 EMS calls.
We have 2,100 total calls. Ethan was more accurate with the differentiation between fire-related versus EMS-related. That's about 1,600 still per year, and that's a lot.
Yeah, so a smaller vehicle for the EMS, I think, would save money.
Not seeing any other questions from the board, we'll go to public comment. Looking for hands in the room. Seeing none. Online. I do not see any hands online. Am I missing anything, Greg? Bring it back to the board. Kendall.
I would just add that Ethan has a good point in that we spend a lot every year for Essex Rescue, and now we're spending a lot additionally with the fire department, that we should really look at the overall picture at some point Whether that's going to be when we build a new fire EMS station, are they gonna merge? But, I just see the fire becoming a lot more EMS. It's already, you're doing 3 calls to 1 per fire, so. And you know, Essex Rescue's gonna come in and they're gonna need more money as well, so. I think at some point we should do an overall view of the way the service is provided by the town.
I would welcome a strategic discussion event about the fire service of what we're doing today and where the numbers are projected to be in relation to fire calls, EMS calls, and EMS coverage. Because even with the best service of Essex Rescue right now, their trucks are frequently all booked, and we're relying on mutual aid ambulances coming in from South Burlington and Milton and Shelburne and Richmond to answer calls in this area.
Yeah.
I would welcome that.
My mother says Richmond gives the best ride.
Thank you, Andy. Andy.
I make the motion that the Select Board authorize the town manager to execute the purchase of a 2026 Ford F-150 4x4 pickup police service vehicle from McGovern Municipal HQ for a price of $49,356 and to use local vendors for the needed upfit equipment as listed in this memo for an additional total added cost of approximately $23,000 and a total vehicle acquisition cost of $72,326 to be expensed from capital funds.
Thank you, Andy. I think you meant 356, not 26, correct?
356. Perhaps I misread it.
Thank you, Andy.
Correction.
Thank you for the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Meg. Final discussion from the board members.
Well, I just note that
Kendall.
it is well below what we had planned for a capital cost, so thank you.
Bring it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as it stands, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1 with Ethan in the dissenting. Thank you, Chief. That'll bring us to item F, consider approval of changes to the investment policy. Dan, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
You kind of just came out of nowhere.
I've been in the back of the room for a bit. Okay, so before you is the investment policy, and there are some revisions that we're proposing to it. This was kind of, the catalyst for this was an opportunity with the Vermont Community Loan Fund. And so we're looking to shape and amend the investment policy from where it was previously approved about 2 years ago. In some regards, this will give you a little more power to see on an individual basis an investment that's kind of outside of the FDIC approved and insured cases. And I know the board has kind of discussed this opportunity before and whether, you know, how much would be invested in this particular fund. So the wording here is really to just allow the select board to have that opportunity to hone in on that individual decision when we come up with a specific investment plan for that investment opportunity.
Thank you. Board members, question for Dan on his staff. Ethan.
Oh, I just have a quick question. But is this following from the conversation that we had like a year ago, maybe?
Yeah, I think, I don't know,
Just
about
like
a year
step two
ago,
of
but
it, or 6
kind of-
months ago.
Yeah, a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe,
But it's okay.
you
It's
know,
the same.
springtime. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was thinking about it, and I'm like, I remember this, but it's been a while, and I just want to make sure this is kind of the same thing that we were talking about before, just for the opportunities that you would personally vet and decide, but they're just not.
Right,
They
yeah.
have plenty of to back themselves up. They're just not FDIC, right?
It's just not FDIC.
Okay.
Yeah, they've never had a case where
yeah,
they've.
yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure that was like.
Yeah, that is the
I think
connection.
I'm connecting the dots, but thank you.
Thanks for clarifying that. Meg.
I remember this, Ethan, so was after I was on the board, so it was earlier in the spring.
So I am crazy then.
No. I'm curious if we want to have a discussion. This isn't necessarily a question for Dan, but you're welcome to weigh in. We talked about maybe having a limit in the amount invested. If that's something that we want to consider in this like case by case language for these non-FDIC insured investments. It's something that I thought perhaps we could discuss. Knowing that it's higher risk, essentially.
Sure. Dan, I know that you chose not to have that language in here. Could you talk about why you didn't talk about a certain threshold or anything else like that?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're not looking for a particular amount, and we're not really at the point in our investment portfolio where we could turn around tomorrow and execute it. I recall when previously presenting to the board this issue, we had bounced around an idea of maybe $1 million being invested in this particular opportunity. And then I forget which one of the board members might have said maybe 500,000 is the right spot to go. So I know we've kind of discussed dollar amounts, but at this point, we're collecting money for utility bills. We'll soon be collecting money for tax bills. We're not going to turn around tomorrow and say, here's our VCLF opportunity that we want to do. But we did want to kind of wrap up the investment policy piece of it so that it would be in place for that future decision.
Yeah.
So this is just to set the process in place so that we have the option that you could come forth with hey, this is a different avenue we could go. I'd like to propose this amount, or the town wants to propose this amount, and that's when we would debate such numbers, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Does that?
Yeah, and no, I understand all that. I'm thinking for the sake of outlining this language, right? And if we're updating this policy, just from a risk perspective, perhaps putting some limitations within the language so that I understand it's on a case by case basis and we would still have to approve the amount. I'm just thinking if we want to set a threshold because this is falling outside of what is outlined right now and being kind of a little bit fiscally conservative in understanding that most of our other investments are FDIC insured. I can be swayed either way. I understand your point. We would still have to go through and approve a specific amount, when something like this comes to us. It was just something I wanted to bring up.
Ethan.
I'm just gonna share this as like a moment that I've experienced over time.
Mm-hmm.
But like one of the things that I got stumped with always over the years was, and to no harm to my friend Andy, but he always made a really good point to me was that we don't have control over future select boards. So if we control what we believe, which is having it approved by the select board, we can make our conscious decision as a group. But even if we put language in there that said $1 million or $2 million, next year there would be, every year there's a different board. I think sometimes. Most years. But at that point in time, the language could be changed. So it's kind of the ideology, I guess, would be is that we control what we control when we control it, and then the beauty of the beast is that whoever's the board is the control of the town, and that's kind of where we lie in our civic duty to. So just wanted to share that. I don't know if that's helpful or
No, I mean it's a good point for sure.
But.
Okay.
Shannon, would you mind if I offered something? So when Dan and I were talking about this, I asked him his recommendation. How much do you think? And he was educating me on how the amounts that we have invested fluctuate. So for example, we have a sizable amount in our water sewer fund balance. We've got an aggressive capital plan. So a ratio of what is invested may be something that's more aligned with what you're mentioning, Meg, of kind of what proportion of invested assets do you want exposed to that additional risk? Because it seems like the number fluctuates. I'm sure you can fill in the blank, Stan, but that was a concept I hadn't really considered before the conversation. So I just offer that.
You want to expand on that, Dan?
Yeah, I would say, generally speaking, at any point in time, we have 9 to maybe 11.5 million invested outside of our kind of our operating cash. So like in this time period, for example, and you see it later in the packet in my investment review for the quarter, you know, we're at a little bit of a lower number because we haven't collected all of our utility bills yet. We're about to get into our tax part. So those are opportunities when we can invest more. And even in the case of collecting taxes before we pay the school district, we have a little extra opportunity to kind of gain for that 3-week period while we're holding money. So there are ebbs and flows, and obviously it depends when our kind of fiscal year activity happens. You know, we ramp up things in the summertime for rec and public works and water sewer in different cases, salt shed as an example. So there's always, you know, cash planning that needs to go along with it. So I would say at this point in the fiscal year, we're a little bit lower on the invested cash, but there are other times of the year where we're more exposed to that interest revenue.
Thank you. Kendall?
I know that we can't hold future select boards to anything, but this is a policy, and I do think that it would be good to put in the policy somewhere either a percentage or a number that could be invested without FDI insurance. I mean, we don't know, at least if you have a percentage in here of some kind, even if it's only 50%, when you're talking $9 or $10 million, you really, I mean, it's possible you could come up with something that you wanted to put $7 million into something that give you a 6% interest. You never know. There should be something that, I just think prudently, I don't know how many private people or whatever would have a policy that didn't have some kind of breakout. Not really being clear, I guess, but.
No, you're saying we need a limitation. Many financial advisors would set such a thing, a policy with a portfolio.
Yeah,
You're making sense.
I mean, typically we always have some kind of a breakdown, a percentage, 25, 50, 50, 50, whatever, so.
Andy?
So just so I make sure I understand and it's said clearly what we're trying to do here is I think what the policy is saying is that for FDIC insured stuff, you handle that already, you know what you're doing and all that. A non-insured investment comes to the select board for review in all cases. Is that the?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think it needs to be decided on a case-by-case basis, and rather than having a future select board have to go modify the policy before you can make an investment that makes sense, I think I'd leave the language the way it's been recommended here. I support what's presented to us.
Second.
Not seeing any other questions from the board. Let's go to public comment. No hands in the room for public comment. Going online for public comment. There's two.
Lorraine Zaloom was first.
Lorraine, you were first.
Oh, great. Thank you, Chair. A couple questions I hope could be answered. I see in the memo, it was saying that there are other protections. I was just wondering in terms of risk assessment. I recently learned, my husband and I went through a terrible thing recently. We had a lot of money stolen out of our bank account. And we learned that FDIC doesn't insure against fraud. So in terms of protections, that's only if the bank has run on and, goes out of business. So FDIC doesn't really provide a lot of assurance to me as a taxpayer. I'm more concerned in terms of insurances around our monies and where we have them in different financial institutions, that we update our IT kind of policies, in that if anyone uses a cell phone, that the cell phone has a line lock on it so the phone can't be ported, that if we're using two-factor authentications to get into our accounts, that we use a localized authentication application, not one that's provided by the institution. So I'm curious in terms of learning, the FDIC does not really insure a lot. That maybe in terms of risk assessment, what you're offering might actually even be more secure than having it in a bank account with a high yield account that doesn't have a lot of service or oversight because they're a large institution and they're just not paying as much attention. So I was wondering if you could kind of review what kind of assurances there are on these kind of things. And I agree with Andy also, I like that it's on a case-by-case basis instead of setting an amount as well.
So I guess I can speak to some of the FDIC items. Some of our larger investments are actually tend to be clusters of $250,000 bank holdings that can be enveloped into a $3 million investment. So when we purchase a new CD, basically it can be a combination of several different banks there. So in a way, we are spreading out our risk because there's a $250,000 limit that we can use with each bank. At the time of every investment, we're getting asked which banks that we have holdings in already so that the banks we're investing in can avoid those, so we're not duplicating an FDIC and exposing ourselves in that manner. I guess that there always is a chance that a bank can go kaput, and we've seen it 18 years ago in like the housing crisis. It happens. But I think this kind of vehicle, the FDIC insurance, limiting it to 250, and the fact that we're fanned out across many, many different banks. Some of them you see individually listed, some of them in a composite with like Vermont Federal and Union Bank. I think that helps to spread out the risk for us. We're not having $3 million in one spot under FDIC. It's being fanned out.
Can I redirect the question then, please? I think I wasn't clear. Yes, I totally agree with having FDIC. My concern is after what we just experienced is FDIC did nothing for what happened to us. I'm more concerned in terms of cybersecurity, that we have policies in place that require that we have localized two-factor authentication. I don't know if that's in our policy. I assume that we also have employees that have cell phones that are town phones, and that we line lock those cell phones because that's a way to avoid porting. Because they can, it's on the rise because this just happened to us. John and I have become very well versed in what's happening in Vermont. It's someone in Winooski just had 18,000 stolen too. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. So I guess basically what I'm saying, I'm not really worried about how you've got the money saved. I feel very confident about your work in terms of spreading risk like that. That's not my concern. It's not even FDIC. It's that we're not secure in terms of internet, cybersecurity. And also, I suspect, like the VLCCS models, because it says right in the memo that there's other assurances. I was just wondering what the risk assessment is on those models, because I assume they're probably fairly low. And I'm wondering if you had done any research on what the risks were around that other non-FDIC type of investment was.
Yeah, so I guess to speak, to some of the IT concerns first, on some of our larger CDs and all of these investments, we have involvement with our clerk's office and our treasurer. So obviously they're the signatories for it. They're doing the transactions. And from there, we're provided access to specific online sites where we can look up the basic CD information. There is not any daily, transactions that's happening out of these accounts. They are just really sitting there. We have our operational account with Community Bank, and that's the extent basically of our kind of day-to-day transactions. So I think that helps to mitigate kind of the online risk. We have passwords. I think maybe not all sites are dual, are second authorized. It might be just one login to get into it. So that might be something to pursue. And I guess I can't really speak to the IT elements of it. In terms of within the policy, we've had very much a focus of being FDIC and looking at that aspect. In the past, we have had some collateralization agreements that tended to happen more with community bank because that is our primary operational bank. So we've tended to have more of those type of agreements, like we've had a repurchase agreement in the past where we've held funds as kind of an investment tool while also having access to those funds. So that's kind of the best example I can give you of a case where we're not really doing FDIC. It's just we've had a collateralization agreement in that place.
In terms of what just happened it happened in June, in early June. Our money was just sitting there. We didn't, it was just a savings account. We weren't utilizing it that much. It wasn't basically inactive. So that doesn't provide any protection. I just want to make sure that at least those two things, that we are changing our password once a year, that we are using localized two-factor authentication apps right to whoever's using our phones to access those accounts, and that if there is a cell phone that is a town employee cell phone that's used, that is, it's called a line lock, and certainly I think Ron could probably fill you guys in on some of what happened and what's on the rise. I'm way more and the other belief that I had was FDIC insurance helped cover fraud, and it doesn't cover any fraud. And that's certainly the thing that's on the rise, as opposed to banks going out of business. And, we definitely saw banks go out of business in our lifetime, but it's not happening as much right now. So I'm not as concerned about that. I'm really very concerned about our money and its safety, given we have so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Lorraine. Greg, it might be a good idea at a future meeting to bring up the cybersecurity policies or share those with Lorraine if she's interested, to see what is required by staff for our IT management and things like that. I know that we've gone through those at past meetings, maybe even this year, but she's absolutely right. Cybersecurity is very important. I believe the next hand is Lois Whitmore.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise the issue about the banking that you named. Given the possibility and probability of a state bank, I wonder if it could be added as a potential named investment site so that we reinvest our money as a town into our state.
Lois, are you talking about in the memo the list of authorized places to invest and deposit town funds?
Yes. Yes, there's an upcoming bank conference that's talking about us continuing the talk and discussion about a state bank, which I think is a good way of reinvesting in our state, and I would like to see our town do that as it becomes available.
Thank you for that suggestion. I think that's a great idea. I don't see any other hands online. I see no other hands in the room, so I'll bring it back to the board. Ethan.
Move the select board approve changes to the investment policy as proposed.
Thank you, Ethan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. Final discussion.
There was
Andy.
just a suggestion that you thought was a good idea to also add a state bank in here, and should we wait until that exists to add it?
I think it's a good idea to raise with Dan, and if we want to add it once it exists,
Yeah,
that would be the
okay.
time.
All right.
Ethan.
This is a comment, discussion, but just so we all are on the same page, in the updated investment policy on line 26, it says others as may be authorized by the select board.
True.
Great comment. And valid. That would be comprehensive in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Let's jump into a typical home value in Essex. Dan, please stay where you are.
Okay.
I'll turn to the staff.
Sure, I'll take this one. So, as you're all well aware, the reappraisal has basically wrapped up. We're wrapping up the grievance process right now, but the bulk of the work is done. For many years, dating back to 2007, I believe, when we had the last reappraisal, we used a typical average home value in Essex as $280,000. We've used that number when doing budget projections, tax rate projections. That's the number that we've always gone back to. Even as home values have risen on the market, that's been the average assessed value in Essex. So with the reappraisal coming to an end, we're looking at updating that number. You can see some numbers in the chart, basically looking at all the different residential properties in Essex, which include residential homes on more than 6 acres, less than 6 acres, mobile homes without land, mobile homes with land, and condominiums. That's the breakdown of the different types of properties. The average value is $538,300, rounding a little bit. The median value is $516,900. So probably anywhere in between that 515 to 540 range is probably a valid typical home for Essex. Staff is recommending using the median, rounding up slightly to be $520,000 as the typical home. So that's what we're presenting. There's some information in the memo about what that will do for taxes this year. This is less about what taxes are going to be. It's more about setting that value of the home. We'll talk about the tax rate with the next item, but wanted to bring this to you. It's the number that we would intend to use going forward as we get into budget preparations, tax rate projections, and quite possibly until the next reappraisal.
Thank you, Greg. Board members, questions about setting this? Ethan?
Okay. So I don't really know where to start with this one, but I'm going to give it my best shot to be short and sweet and just kind of understand a little bit mathematical, if we can link our mathematicians together here, Dan. So we used all 5 to get the mean and the average, right?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
trying to get all. Yep.
So here's what I did, because at 1:30 in the morning I couldn't sleep and I had nothing better to do. So I took all of the properties, okay, and I don't have the napkin in front of me because I didn't feel like taking 17 photocopies of a napkin I had at 1:30 in the morning and giving it to everybody. But here's what I propose, and to the board, I just ask that you hear me out, and maybe we take a second look at this before we approve this number. But I went on and I added together all the properties, and I got just over 5,000 properties, okay? And then I looked at the significance in the property types. And I took the 5,000 overall, and I looked at the property types, and I looked at R1, and I looked at what percentage 2,424 was of the 5,000, which was pretty close to 50%. But then I looked at R2, and I looked at the percentage and the significance that value had. And then I looked at the MHU, MHL, and I said to myself, I said, whoa. I said, whoa. I said, why? I understand to include all, right, to be inclusive. But if we are literally using the term, the average assessed value in Essex, I think it's appropriate that we use the average assessed value in Essex. And the unfortunate reality is when you add in the MHU and the MHL, which is only 31 homes, which is, I forget the percentage, but it was a really small percentage of 5,000, as you can imagine. And you reverse the math on all of those, okay? And you look at the percentages for the average of those categories, and you use that percentage to find, our, let's call it our magic number of where is the middle ground in all of this, and you look at the relevance of the percentage to the value that it has based on how many homes it has, and you use that number to find how much of the total value of the grand list that property is responsible for. So then you take those 3 numbers, okay, I took R1, R2, and O, and I combined them, and I used an average, not a mean, because I believe an average is more accurate to reflect what we're trying to accomplish. And what I found is that realistically, like I truly believe it is, as somebody who moved here in 2018 and had a house that was assessed at $230,000, yes, I made some improvements to my property, but realistic, I look at the numbers, and if we're going to tell somebody that the average appraised value of a property in Essex is blank amount of dollars, it needs to truly be the average. And I understand including all of those values, but the reality is if you take a number like $625,000 and you average it with 40,000, it's going to significantly lower the number, even if it's only for a certain number of homes, 15 in this case. Let's say, that's the average that it came out to. So what I'm proposing is that the town not look at this in an inclusive way of not including anybody or looking at value of a home as any demeanorship towards being a resident of Essex. What I'm looking for is finding the true number of adding up all the residential properties and finding what the true average is. And I believe that average is right around $625,000, and I urge the board to take a minute to not rush this number, because this number has long been criticized by the people of our community for being $230,000. The tax rate, in my opinion, more than doubled. If you're not below that 81% threshold with the reappraisal, your taxes are going up, and I don't think that this is an accurate reflection to the reappraisal. Thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
When I read through this and I saw average and all these, the 5 categories and stuff, I understood that the average was 538,000. Why are you saying it's 600,000?
Because you added in 15 properties that average $40,000. But if you look at those 15 properties, I mean, you can use the mobile home with land. That's pretty accurate. But not only is there now a subset of taxes being paid because there's individual landowner, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but the owner of the trailer park is also paying taxes to the town.
I would think so. I do not know for certain.
For the land, yes.
99% sure, but so that's, I'm pretty sure that's commercial. And then this is residential. But nonetheless, right, like my true intention here is that if you just cover up that $40,000 number, even if you use mobile homes with land, that number is going up significantly. Significantly.
Was this average not weighted when you ran the numbers, or was it truly you took the 5 categories and averaged that?
I think it's just the 5 categories, and I think, within the memo, we're not talking about an average like 280,000 has been for a long time. We're trying to discuss it as more of a typical, and that kind of leads to the interpretation why we're having this discussion, which is fine. Whether it's an average or a median or a set number that we all agree on represents that typical place. I think that's up for grabs here.
Greg?
Did you have his hand?
Andy, I'll come to you next. I just wonder if you're jumping on that comment.
I believe happy to take the time to confirm this. I believe that 538,305 is the average for all the residential properties. Yeah. But happy to take that back and confirm that with the board.
Andy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if it's the average of the averages, it's the wrong number. If it's the average of those 5 numbers, that's not the right number. But if it's the average of
gross everything,
all properties, then I'm okay with it. The other thing is, I think the median is more important because that's the center one. That means 50% of properties or more have a higher value than that, and 50% have lower. I think that's the more appropriate number to use than average. It has been called the average, and I've always tried to make sure whenever I say it, I use quotes because it's not really. It's close to the average, but then rounded. I'm okay with taking a second look at the numbers, and I'm totally fine with making sure and I do understand the question of why would you add in 15 properties that average 40,000? It seems it probably does. I don't know how much it moves the number, but wish I
I could
thought
be
of
wrong
pulling
on
a
the numbers.
pulling a napkin out this weekend and looking at this myself to figure out actually, okay, how did this number come together? And I do want to understand more. But anyway, the way the number is used is a comparison to last year. So if we have the same, if we call it a typical home value rather than average, or, you know, although we've called it average before, it wasn't really the average.
A
It was
median,
close.
yeah.
You know, calling it typical is fine with me, saying it's the median or close to the median, but it's more to give a comparison from year to year. To some extent, it doesn't really matter what the number is. It's just because it's just a comparison. You can take that number and your number and scale it and find what your impact's going to be, regardless of what that number is.
Correct.
But in order for everybody to be comfortable with how the number was calculated, I'd like to see more, I think, on how it was calculated.
I've always thought of the terminology when we use that, as example. It's like, it's not necessarily the average, it's not necessarily the median. We're talking about using the term typical here. I think you could say example home, whatever it is. I like that we're talking about basing it off of real numbers. But I thank you for raising those points, both Ethan and Andy. I think it's important that we get this right and we're in a consensus. Meg?
So I had two kind of similar questions. One was the prior value based on the averages outlined or the median? Because it's always been a little bit unclear. It sounds like it was an average.
I'm not sure we know. It factored in Essex Junction, was part of it. We've used that number. I'm pretty sure the Essex Junction values are a little bit, and have been a little bit lower than Town of Essex values, so it had been some sort of average typical home. I don't know the exact calculation that we got to there. It was probably a little bit low for just the Town of Essex after separation, but that was the number we had stuck with until we got to this point.
Okay. And then my second question is, this is an internal number, right? So it's not necessarily, is it published anywhere? I couldn't find it quickly. Wondering where this number would be potentially published externally, or is this an internal number that we then, like we talked about, like base the tax rate and things like that off of?
Andy, I see your hand going up.
When we talk about it at town meeting, we use that as an example home to say, this is the effect on a home that's this value.
Right.
This is how much your taxes will change based on that. And again, you can just scale it based on what your assessment is. And that's where it's published externally, is in it's in our documentation of what we share about the communications that go out around town meeting and tax changes.
Kendall?
I was just going to say I like the wording of an example home versus a typical home, because I think the issues I've always heard is that you say you get the paper and it says a typical home, and a lot of people go, well, my home's not anywhere near this. It's higher or lower or something, so they have a big, this isn't my home. But if you change the word from typical, they might understand that the explanation you gave of the median is that half are below and half are above, and that's not put on the paper. But I think that would help residents understand that this is just an example value, below or above. I don't know if it's worth going there or not. I mean, I was going to ask what kind of complaints have we got for the number that we use typically? I mean,
I can answer that too.
I've seen your hand. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. To go along with what Kendall was saying, one of the things that I think would be nice to include is showing people how to calculate what it means to them. You know, like I've said like 3 times, you can just scale it to your own value. You know, give them the equation. Say, put your value in here, do the math, and you'll get the answer. This is just an example, but if you put your number in, you'll know how it affects you. I think.
Yeah.
As chair, you're to be doing the presentation next year.
That's true. I look forward to my graphics.
I'd like to suggest that, but
Well, just to give you a quick-
The complaints that you usually hear is my home value is nowhere near that, because people are possibly thinking market value rather than assessed value. And that's one thing that we stress is it's the assessed value is from 2007. And your taxes are based on your assessed value, not your market value. But
I know you recently put a post on Front Porch Forum, kind of giving your home as an example and different things, and I know there was a lot of responses of thanking you for that, laying out the math and things and stuff like that. So
I guess some private responses say it's too good to be true. I don't believe it. So
I didn't see those. I only saw the public ones.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Giving people the tools to figure it out themselves is not a bad idea.
I mean, I would just add to that is that I had a number of neighbors say, it was about time one of you guys said what this actually means from his post. So it's all there in the paperwork, how to calculate your value and stuff, but maybe we can make it clearer somehow.
Further questions? Karen?
Can I just offer on the calculation? So it's a cumulative total divided by 4,051 parcels. So the cumulative total is 2.18 billion. When divided by those 4,051 parcels, you get an average of 538. If you go to 2025, which is the median value, it's the 516.9. So that's how we arrived at those numbers. It's not an average of an average. I just wanted to clarify.
Public comments? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Ken Signorello, a town resident. First, I want to remind you that terminology is very, very important. People need to be able to understand by definition what something is. Typical, not a good term. Median has a meaning. In fact, I'd like to ask Karen, how did you calculate the median?
So if you basically
If it's okay.
line them up from smallest to largest and you go to the middle value, that's how we arrived at that number.
Exactly. The median is well defined. It is the value where half of the population is less and half of the population is more. Look it up in a dictionary. Well understood. Mathematical average, also well understood. When to use which depends on the shape of your population. You have a population which tends to be skewed like a hockey stick sort of scenario, then the numerical average does not work very well, mathematical average. Median makes more sense. Typically with properties, I dare say that the skewing would look something like it would be not very many properties very low, a lot of properties sort of in a middle range, and then it would peter out. Again, not a great shape for a curve for numerical average. So median is something that I would like to urge you to use. I think it makes sense. That's the term you should use, the median household. Make sure the population is well defined. That's all residential properties, I believe.
Mhm.
Yep. That's a very important point as well. A typical or an example. How do you pick an example? I mean, that's the question you're going to get. How is my house compared to an example? The median is something that's very well understood. So I'm going to urge you to go with the median household, and I was very pleased to hear how both were calculated. They sound quite accurate. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing other hands in the room. We've got two online. Who was first?
Diane Swafford, if I pronounced that correctly.
Diane, you're on. Diane, can you speak? Diane Swafford, you're no longer on. Let's go to Lorraine, and maybe Diane will come back.
I wonder if she couldn't see the unmute button. A couple things. Andy,
just thank you. What a great job in presenting. I think because you've done it enough, but it was quite clear. I really appreciate that. And Karen, thank you for explaining too how the math was done. I think that's really helpful for us. I see our taxes are going to go up about $380, which is a lot for us. We're about to go in a fixed income. So, you know, it's going to be a tighter budgets. And so the question I have too is, we have a capital tax as well? And is that separate from this then? And is that is 5 cents per dollar, if I remember right? Or I don't remember how that's calculated. So would that also increase as well?
Greg, can you explain how that's calculated?
Yes, Lorraine, the capital tax is 5 cents. It's 5 cents on the value of the home divided by 100. But yes, the capital tax is going to increase. The numbers that we're talking about as far as the average or the median value of the home, that's just the data. And so people,
that's going to
people
go
can
up
look
for
at
everybody then.
the capital tax will as long as people's homes values increased, which they probably almost all did, the capital tax will increase, yes.
I mean, you would know if anyone's home didn't increase. I can't imagine there was no one's home. I can't imagine you had a single home that decreased. So we're going to see an increase in revenue from the capital tax as well, because that is calculated differently, and it's just plain 5 cents. It's more regressive. And plus, a lot of us are going to see that rise, and also a lot tax was just proposed. And a lot of us are struggling with the cost of fuels and things like that. I have to say again, I'm pretty disappointed that this was the time that a lot was being proposed, as a number of us are going to be hammered this year. And we haven't even looked at the school taxes yet, so just please be mindful. And would love it if you'd reconsider pulling that off the ballot at some point. Thanks.
Thank you, Lorraine. I see that Diane's hand is back. Welcome back. Diane, you are unmuted by us, but you may have to unmute yourself. Or it may be a technical difficulty. While we try for Diane again, we're going to go to Betsy Dunn. Betsy? Are we having technical difficulties?
I just wasn't being allowed to unmute. The capital tax is interesting to me, and I'm wondering, you know, we're the only town that has one, a capital tax in Vermont, and I'm wondering why, and if it wouldn't be better to go to the general fund for pay transfers to pay off expenditures that we need to, that we would have used in the capital tax. And that might be a relief to people as well. Just a thought.
Thank you, Betsy. I always appreciate your thoughts, and you make me think a lot. Diane, we're going to try you again. Can we unmute Diane? Diane, I'm showing that you're unmuted. Can you try saying something?
Diane, is your microphone turned on in your computer?
Diane, I hate to not have someone who has their hand up speak, but seeing as technology is not working with us, we are going to close public comment. I encourage you to reach out to either myself through the select board emails or the staff, and we can hear your comments that way. So with that, not seeing any other hands online or any other hands in the room. Betsy, just to make sure, is your hand still up, or is this a new comment? I'm going to say it's an old comment. Bringing it back to the board. Further discussion or motions? Andy.
Thank you, Karen, for the explanation of how the numbers were calculated. Given the large number that's there and that there's only 15 of the mobile homes unlanded, I can't imagine it sways the number by very much. I am in favor of going forward as proposed, but if I make a motion and it fails, does that mean we can't change it this year, or do we?
If I could just jump in, Andy, for discussion. I like the idea that, yeah, I understand the want to have straight numbers and clean numbers. At the same point, I think it would be better for the town to be able to clearly define what this thing is. I appreciated Ken's comments, and it was kind of where I was leading coming into this meeting, of just not picking a random number, but using something that's based in science. And we frame it at, I know you've always used your air quotes, other people have used other terms. We can still say example in my mind, we can, you know, but the example that we use is based as the median. And when people say, what is this number? We can say it's this, half on top, half on the bottom, that's where it falls. There's probably one person in the town that will actually have that be their number. Maybe two. I just think median is a good path forward if we're just looking to base a number to provide an example to the town. Ethan.
I'm just gonna close with my last comment. You guys do whatever you want with it, but in my mind, when you're talking an average, if I look at R1, okay, residential less than 6 acres, that's where I live, over 50% of the town. If I look at my tax bill, and my tax bill just came in at $565, or maybe it's $535, I can't remember off the top of my head right now. And I look at that tax bill and I say, oh look, R1, the average is $577,341. My taxes should be going down, right? Because of the reappraisal. But then my taxes go up, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Why would my taxes go up? So now I look at all the numbers, and I run the numbers, and I look at the real raw numbers. And you look at the number where net zero is, okay? Anything below that number, this is for the whole common level of appraisal. It's actually, nobody's been able to give me a number. I've asked everybody for weeks and months, almost a year at this point. The 81%'s in there? Okay, I haven't seen the percentage in there. We'll have to get there when we see it. There's still no percentage. Right? 76.5049. So look up 76.5049 of the grand list, and that's your value. Like, there is a number. This is not imaginary, this is only math. Median, I don't agree with, right? Because you have 15 property owners with a property value of $40,000, okay? We have 15 property owners with a property value of 1.7 million. You want to put them in their own group? They're not, they're in R2. So R2 gets drained down because of property owners like, you know, let's just say my farm wasn't 4.5 acres and my farm was 6.5 acres. My property would only be 600,000. So when you put 1.7 million against 600,000, you get a number right around, you know, when there's many 600,000s and only a couple 1.7, it does bring the number up. But it brings that number around that 700,000, which takes it out of the realisticness of the 50% of the people that are in that group. You can shake your head all you want, but I've done the math. I'd just like to see somebody prove the math. This Excel spreadsheet in a Word that the math has been proven doesn't do it for me when I ran the numbers and got totally different numbers. So,
Andy?
If we're just going to use the median, we can just use the median and call it the median. We don't need to do anything.
Sure.
Because the reason this is here is because we wanted a way to explain a fiction. If we use 520, it's a fiction. And we need to say, well, the select board chose that number. If we're just going to use the median, we don't need to do anything.
Well, we need to say we're using the median.
No, we don't. Just use it.
It's the median.
Just call it that and use it.
Fair.
You're going to write the presentation. You don't need the select board's authority to choose that word and that number on your presentation, because it's true. The reason we're doing that, we're asked to do this is a fiction. 520,000 is a fiction.
Correct.
And when somebody asks where'd that number come from, that's the number the select board chose. If you're just using the median, it's math. You don't need us to approve math.
It's a fact, actually.
And you
Yeah.
can just say that. The select board doesn't need to choose anything. So I don't think we need to do anything. Just put the presentation together and present it.
Is it just a point of clarity? Is it just, we only use this on the presentation? I thought we used this for public documents and stuff like that.
It's on the presentation, it's in the annual report. If I'm writing my memo to the select board about the budget, or my memo that goes into the annual report, I typically say this is the impact it'll have on the, I think we've used average home in Essex valued at $280,000. So if the preference is to start using the median home in Essex, that's an easy switch.
I mean, was my whole diatribe moments ago. I like basing it in science. And then you can
That solves my whole argument.
Well, I know, that's when
literally,
you have
because we're
50 at the
using
bottom,
math.
50 at the top, it's right in the middle.
I'm like, otherwise the math is like a science experiment. The numbers are conflated. When the numbers get conflated, you can't use averages.
You can't use that term, right?
Right.
Other board member comments?
Use the median.
Yeah, I'm fine with the median. That was kind of my question.
Okay. Hearing no motion, we'll close this topic, move on. Moving to business item 6H, consider approval of fiscal year 2027 tax rates. Dan.
Okay, so as you know, on July 13th, we discussed the tax rates for what is now the current fiscal year, 27. None of the information within this memo has changed in terms of what the grand list is, what we're looking to raise for property taxes, the rates that were presented on July 13th. You can see the comparison chart from fiscal year 27 to 26. There's a discussion about where the general tax rate lands because of reappraisal, the local agreement rate, and previously mentioned the capital tax rate staying at 5 cents. There is some information on the new updated homestead and non-homestead information, which we've received calls about and provided information for people wanting to know that information. There's an example calculation, and so with no kind of changes afoot, we're just looking to get the select board to approve the rates as presented here so that we can execute the tax bills later this week and issue them out to our residents.
Thank you, Dan. Questions for the staff? Ethan?
Really short, sweet, I promise this time.
I don't believe you, but let's go.
But that's our final answer number, the 76.5049. So anybody can just look at anybody can reverse the math on their tax bill from last year's to this year's and see if they're above 76%. And that'll tell you whether or not you're getting an increase in your taxes.
So it depends. Like if your value is going to be, say your value doubled.
More than doubled, but I'm with you.
Okay. So say your value doubled. So I would say since the education rates are basically half, you're not going to see a major increase in that. Okay, the education side of things, you'll be pretty much even, and I think that was exhibited in the front porch forum discussion earlier.
So just municipal tax and capital tax was where else?
Yeah,
I mean,
so the
capital everybody sees, right? Period.
Correct. Yep, because that's a 5 cent, not a yep. Okay.
Assessed value.
Yeah. So
So for the municipal tax rate, does that theorem hold true or no?
I think, generally speaking, yes. I think there's a little bit of a difference because we're taking a reappraisal number and comparing it to a number from 19 years ago, where this 25 to 26 grand list, we're kind of looking at 1 year. And there could be more specific changes for your property. I guess I would say, generally speaking, if you're above that 76% line, though, I think it's a reasonable assumption to say if you're above that 76%, you're going to see more, you're absorbing more of a percentage on your property. And if you are less than 76%, you're going to see, generally speaking, a lower share of the municipal taxes.
Okay. Yeah, because that's how this whole thing got indulged in my head with the different categories for for the properties
Prior, yep.
was because, you know, and don't ask me how I got this number or where we even came up with it. Well, I've been using 81 for a while. Don't know where I got it from, but it worked close enough where it was, you know, worth talking about. So when you use that number, like I'm gonna go home and do it tonight just because I have to, but if you use that 76%, that 76.5%, I should be able to multiply that into the average and see where you would be for a home, but it won't work, right? Because that average is too low because the actual value of those averages is so lopsided with those extra $1 million properties that reverse math doesn't work. Because R1 didn't go up 76%. R1 only went up.
Right, it's a total grand
52%,
list thing. It's not an
right?
individual
And R2
piece.
went up 84%. And, you know, the mobile homes didn't change at all. So when you look at that 76%, like that's where it's really hard to put it on paper, is that 76% doesn't work it only works as a whole. But if you use it as a whole, your property wasn't reappraised as a whole. Your property is reappraised in subgroups. So it's really hard. Because each property, depending on the classification that it's in, each subgroup went up a different amount.
Sure.
So a lot of the formulations that, you know, and I watched the presentation that was put out, but a lot of the formulations, when you would run the numbers, you wouldn't actually get an accurate number. You get a close enough number, but a lot of the times the numbers wouldn't work. And if you reverse the formula, you wouldn't get the same number on the tail end because the number wasn't square.
I think I generally get what you're saying.
Too many decimal points.
I mean,
in the
I
equation
think
is
I
what
think
I'm
you
saying.
just run into trouble when we're comparing. There's one number in this memo, and we just had a group of 5 different groups here, so we're talking different populations. And I know you're trying to transpose one and compare it, but then when you get on a
I'm
case,
good though. I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know what the 76 was, and it's total. Again.
It's simply just one grand list to another.
Right.
Yeah.
And that includes the decrease that we had in industrial.
Yeah, it's our full grand list.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Further questions from the board? Seeing none, we'll open it for public comment. I do not see any hands in the room. Do we have any hands online? Yes.
Waff.
Waff.
I think this is Diane.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Yes, I was having, obviously I'm having issues. I have a question that may.
Real
or
quick,
may
could you
not
just state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Diane Swafford.
Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
I have a question related, and now my screen just went away. I'm beginning to hate technology. Anyway, I have a question about how this is going to be affecting tenants. And if anybody is thinking about how this is going to be affecting the tenants. Because those of us who have lived here for 20 years as tenants and are on fixed incomes could be very, very harmed by this and wind up without a place to live.
Thank you, Dan. Dan, do you want to respond to that?
It's a question, it's just a question of please somebody think about that.
Okay, we'll
Thank
make
you.
sure we keep that in mind. Thank you, Diane. I see Lorraine is here.
Sorry, real quick. Can you just explain the local agreement rate? Is that a fixed rate or does that change each year? And that covers, I assume, the business subsidies?
So it is not including the business subsidies. We have some veterans exemptions and some farm and open land contracts that are enveloped in there. This number stays relatively stable from year to year. We had a 0.0005% decrease year over year. This number has typically been around 0.002 in my time here. So it's a very stagnant number. It's not increasing or decreasing a great deal.
So it's very static. And just, I'm sorry, I'm new. I don't understand at all. What's the open land agreement thing? What does that mean?
So there are some exemptions that are provided through past actions of the select board or through votes or town votes involving farm and open land, and also the veterans exemptions, which I mentioned before. So it allows kind of a cost sharing, if you will. It's distributing some of the tax burden from these populations to the other residents in the town.
And it's specifically for farming, if I got that right?
Hi, Lorraine, if you're familiar, are you familiar with the current use program that the state offers?
Yes.
It's similar to that, but on a local scale. The criteria is a little bit different in Essex as opposed to what the state offers. But it's basically properties that are, I think it's 50 acres or greater locally, and that if they keep their land undeveloped for forestry or agricultural use, they get a reduction on their taxes.
Cool. And there are a lot of people that use that locally, or no?
I think there's
Not-
nine or 10 properties that are enrolled.
I was going to say, probably not. The tax rate's so low, right?
I'm sorry, I had multiple voices. Say that again, Lorraine.
I was going to say, probably not. The tax rate is so low for that program. So that probably indicates there's not that many people
Right
utilizing
there.
it. It'd be
Yeah,
cost
Karen.
shared.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping in.
That's all right. I was going to say, because that's cost shared, so because it's so low, I would assume not many people may even know about it. Okay, just cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Karen just confirmed there's 9 properties that are in the program right now. The Conservation and Trails Committee has done some outreach in the past to make folks who might be eligible aware of the program. There's a little bit of discussion about if that's the right way to do it, keep doing it locally, or if we should steer people more towards the current use program that the state offers, where we get reimbursed some of the money that the property owners save on taxes. Ethan was just reminding me one of the benefits, probably the main benefit, the benefits to Essex for having the local program are that we get to have a little bit more say in which properties get to remain open, and property owners get to support the Essex landscape. The real benefit is that if those properties ever sell, the town has the right of first refusal on those properties.
And just to chime in, Lorraine, you can only be enrolled in one. You can't be in current use and the town's program.
Ethan.
Just one more quick note on the whole working open lands thing. If you go and get the land map in Essex and actually look at how many individual parcels there are in Essex that are over 50 acres by a sole owner that are open farmland, you'll be very disappointed to see how few there are in Essex.
Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Lorraine. I do not see any other hands online. I do not see any hands in the room, so we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. Kendall.
I make the motion that the select board set the tax rates for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2027 as follows. The general fund tax rate, 0.4330. The local agreement rate, 0.0017. The capital tax, 0.0500, for a total municipal rate paid by taxpayers of 0.4847.
Thank you, Kendall. Is there a second?
Second.
I saw Andy's hand. Andy, thank you for the second. Final discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. That'll bring us to item I. Consider approval of resolution of appreciation for Sharon Kelley. Greg, you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you. So you heard me speak about this topic a little bit earlier tonight. Sharon Kelley is retiring after nearly 32 years with the town. She started off in the Planning and Zoning Office, Community Development Office. She had been an admin assistant, payroll clerk. She became the zoning administrator in December of 2007, and has continued until today, was her last day. Sharon's just been a tremendous asset to the entire community. I mean, I can't even imagine the number of people she has worked with, helped navigate, whether it's just how to get a permit for a deck or a shed or building a new home, to working with developers and not signing off on, but helping with inspections of major subdivisions and large site plan development reviews. Just to speak personally for a moment, Sharon was one of the first people I met in town when I started working here, and she's been a mentor to me and has taught me about planning and zoning and community development and municipal government as much as anybody I've met. So I just want to give her a personal thank you and congratulations. Drafted up a resolution for you to consider. Just speaks about the impact that Sharon has had on the community. Hopefully you'll take it under guidance and just recognize what a great person and great employee and asset Sharon has been for Essex for 3 decades.
Thank you, Greg. I'll just jump in and say that is an incredible career of 32 years. I greatly appreciate the service she gave to our town.
Second.
Thank you, Ethan. Meg?
Yeah, just same thing. Want to thank Sharon for her service in what is probably a pretty thankless job in a very long career. So,
Kendall?
Yeah, I mean, again, personally, Sharon over the years has offered an innumerable number of residents. She's been the face of the town, and she's been a lot of residents have a really good opinion of her, and she's just been great. She's going to be terribly missed.
We'll go to public comment. Any hands in the room? Seeing none. Ethan has his hand in the room.
I make a motion the select board adopt a resolution of appreciation for Sharon Kelley, and I would ask the clerk to read it into the record after passage.
You beat me to it. Thank you for the motion.
Second.
Thank you for the second. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Meg, would you please read the
full
resolution into the record? Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
Resolution in appreciation of Sharon Kelley, whereas Sharon Kelley has faithfully and diligently served the town of Essex in the Community Development Office since 1994, demonstrating an unwavering commitment to the community's orderly growth, public safety, and general welfare. And whereas Sharon retired from the town of Essex on August 3rd, 2026, and whereas Sharon first served in the role as administrative assistant and payroll clerk from October 1994 to December 2007 as the zoning administrator from December 2007 to August 2026, and the health officer from January 2023 to August 2026. Sharon showed a mastery of intricate knowledge of complex local land use, and whereas the role of the zoning administrator demands an intricate knowledge of complex local land use regulations, state statutes, and public processes, all of which Sharon has mastered and applied with absolute integrity, fairness, and professionalism. And whereas Sharon has spent countless hours reviewing development proposals, issuing permits, conducting site visits, and ensuring consistent, objective enforcement of town ordinances to protect the property rights of all residents. And whereas Sharon has continuously gone above and beyond to patiently guide residents, local business owners, realtors, and builders through the zoning application process, providing exceptional public service with a helpful and welcoming attitude. And whereas Sharon has provided invaluable technical support, timely documentation, and expert guidance to the Select Board, Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Adjustment, and Development Review Board, ensuring the success of local governance. And whereas Sharon's professionalism, expertise, kindness, and collaborative spirit have left an indelible positive mark on the physical layout and community character of the town of Essex. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Select Board, the town of Essex, Vermont, that the town formally extends its highest praise, profound appreciation, and heartfelt gratitude to Sharon Kelley for her years of dedicated, exemplary, and honorable service as zoning administrator and health officer. Adopted this 3rd day of August 2026 by the Essex Select Board and Town Manager.
Thank you, Meg. Great. That will bring us to reading file. Board members' comments.
Yes.
Kendall.
I have a comment. I know that the Select Board's policy says that it must be a unanimous vote to extend the meeting beyond 11 o'clock. I was curious, does one member have an option of leaving and then the remaining members can vote unanimously to extend the meeting if they need to? Or is that something that the board would like to discuss going forward? And I only mention that because I was very confused about the unanimous thing, because if a member leaves during the meeting, you're left with 4 members. Does that mean that you can't vote because the original people weren't there to extend the meeting? So I wanted to bring that up as a possible thing for discussion, because I think that going forward, we're going to have many times where we need to extend the meeting. So just wanted a way to address that.
I appreciate bringing that up. Board member comments are just kind of one direction, so we can't get into a lengthy discussion here, but we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, I just figured it was worth bringing up.
Thank you. Further board comments? I'll quickly jump in, just remind committee board chairs and vice chairs that this Saturday is the next coffee with committee chairs. At Leo & Co, I sent an email out, it was 2 weeks ago. I'll bump it again tomorrow, but I look forward to a lively conversation.
Sharon, is the Essex night out tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow night is Essex Night Out. Ethan?
Are we doing a vice chair? Is that coming up this week?
The breakfast is going to be on Friday, August 14th.
Okay. Friday, August 14th.
Thank you.
I thought for some reason I had the 4th in my mind, so thankfully it's not tomorrow.
And the National Night Out is
That's why I was
National Night
asking.
Out is 5 to 7 at the high school tomorrow.
Okay.
Hosted by the police.
Perfect.
Karen will be flipping hot dogs.
Come at your own risk.
Meg? Is that
Yeah.
Great.
I just wanted to thank Noah for his time on the Housing Commission. I was disappointed to see his resignation.
Thank you. Andy?
I've noted that we often thank folks who resign from their seats, but we don't give any thanks to people who choose not to re-interview. And so there are people that leave our committees that don't get publicly thanked. And I think we need to consider if there's a way to do that. Because an example here with Noah, right? We just thanked him. But my neighbor, I'm not thinking of his name. Keith Dunbar chose not to re-up his position on the Economic Development Commission, but we didn't thank him. So that's just a
That's a good idea.
Wondering how we might do that.
No, I like that. We'll have to think about that. Thank you. With that, final comments, Ethan?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you for the motion to adjourn and the second. We did have one more item on the agenda for an executive session, I thought.
You didn't read it before you went to the reading file.
You jumped right over it.
Yeah, you can't go back.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't. I thought you skipped it because we
We
were.
weren't gonna do it, yeah.
We weren't gonna do it.
My apologies for skipping it. There's a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Well, I can rescind my motion to adjourn. Do we need to? Are we good? I thought we skipped it intentionally. I apologize. I rescind my motion. We're back to board member
Is there
comments.
content?
How do we do?
Is there content to cover there?
Well, usually with the asterisks, it usually just means we talk about such things and.
You'd ask for it.
Yeah, but we didn't. You skipped it.
I did skip it.
It's not
You're-
critical. It's nothing critical.
Nope, we'll move ahead. It's not critical. We can deal with it in another meeting.
Okay.
All those in favor of adjourning, please state aye.
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 I'm confused.
Any opposed?
I'll be opposed because I'm confused.
Well, ayes have it. We are adjourned.
Okay.